Old Halloween decorations hung from the windows of the restaurant, dancing in the cool breeze that blew briskly down the street. Mottled leaves flitted by my feet as I stood on the sidewalk staring up at the decaying apartment that I now called home. It wasn't much, but at $500 a month I didn't really expect a lot. The one beacon of positivity about my new home was, however, the fact that I was situated atop a humble Chinese restaurant, and Chinese was always one of my go-to takeout choices. Though minimal, I reveled in the fact that drunken me would be able to go grab a decent crab rangoon without having to ever leave the comfort of my house. Silently, I walked past the restaurant and into a small alleyway where a rustled fire escape provided access to my second-story apartment. I pulled the key from my pocket and slid it into the doorknob, turned it slightly, and pushed it open, revealing the semi-barren one-bedroom space. Save for an old couch, end table, dining room table, and the bed I had purchased when I had arrived, the apartment had no other furnishings. The appliances that came with the space were all from what seemed like the 90s and were very clearly outdated, but none of that mattered to me. Everything ran fine and I didn't need a washer or a dryer, as there was one located just a block down from where I live now. Having grown up in New York City, I was used to utilizing public laundromats. My mom never owned her own washer or dryer, so I was always the one in charge of having to go down the street to the laundromat to clean our clothes while mom was at work. So, though Point Pleasant, West Virginia was quite different from the hustle and bustle of the Big Apple, it was nice to have a few similarities that kept me feeling like I was at home. Shutting the door behind me, I crossed the small living room and thrust myself onto the couch. I didn't have a television yet, but it didn't matter. I really never was one to watch TV, and I wasn't here for the entertainment. Before me, on the bed, sat a heavy, leather-bound book. The spine was worn and cracked from age and years of use, and the pages were yellowed and stale. Gently, I picked up the book and let it fall open in my lap before thumbing through the pages to the bookmark I had left there the night before. Amidst the typed text that had been printed along the book was handwritten notes, scribbled in a messy font that I had to teach myself how to read years ago when I had first acquired the book. As my eyes scanned the pages, the words written before me flashed through my mind. Mining disaster claims 321 lives. Underground explosion trapping 221 men inside mine shaft. Methane explosion kills 214 men and boys. Monongah, West Virginia. Kimball, West Virginia. Eccles, West Virginia. Around each of these disasters was a crudely drawn circle in ink, and at the top of the page, each of the towns where events had occurred were scribbled in a harsh handwriting. Lastly, above all that, in large capital letters was the word connection, with a large question mark following it. I closed the book and lay my head back down on the couch, pinching the bridge of my nose. There has to be something here. There must be. After a moment, I stood up and crossed to the small kitchen which was connected to the living room. I threw open the fridge door and pulled a beer from it, cracking it open and taking a long pull as I closed the door of my hip. I leaned against the countertop and stared out the window, which had a remarkably nice view of the town and the Ohio River which flowed beside it. The sky was painted shades of orange and pink as the sun sank slowly behind the horizon. A flock of birds was roused from a tree in the forest and took off flying through the air. That forest. I sipped my beer. The answer was out there, and I just had to find it. I stayed in the kitchen for a while watching the sunset and drinking my beer. When the last rays of light had vanished from the sky, though, I tossed the empty can into the small trash can I had purchased from Dollar General and retired to my bedroom for the night. I lay on the bed, staring at the outdated and stained popcorn ceiling above me, my mind still racing with thoughts about the mining disasters and what possible connection they might have. I know it seems crazy, but crazy sort of runs in my family. I rolled to my side, looking at the bedside table where a lamp diffused light into the room. Beneath it, however, lay another book. This one smaller and paperback. It was a book I had read several times through and was the reason I was even in Point Pleasant to begin with. The cover was a mixture of violet and pink, and in the background stood an ominous silhouette of a man with giant moth wings jutting from his back. I picked the book up and flipped open the cover to the first page where the same handwriting scribbled throughout the leather-brown book was also present here. The only difference was that the handwriting in this book was addressed to me. Jordan, the truth is out there. Don't let your mother distract you from discovering it. Don't believe the lies. Never lose your spirit and never lose your curiosity. If anyone can discover the truth, it's you. I believe in you, and I believe in your ability to uncover what has long been hidden. Go and find it. Uncle John. Taking in the words for the 1,000th time, I close the book and lay it back on the nightstand before rolling over and staring at the ceiling again. My eyes found one of the many water spots as I took in the decay, and my mind thought of my uncle. It's been 10 years since his death, and I still think about him almost every day. His stories and everything he researched infested this town, and it was hard to live here now feeling as if his spirit was traveling amongst the same buildings I now frequented. I don't remember falling asleep, but the last thing I do remember before slumber overtook me was an eerie feeling of being watched, and in the distance, the faint calling of a whippoorwill.